Hi, Grandpa Birch here. Come on over, I got a book for you. The book is Curious George by H.A. Ray. Curious George is always a good monkey, but he's climbing up on the highline wires. That's not very safe. Curious George by H.A. Ray. This book belongs to Candy. Maybe you too. This is George. This is George. He lived in Africa. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. Are you curious? One day, George saw a man. There's a man over here with a yellow hat. There's the man. He had on a large yellow straw hat. The man saw George too. What a nice little monkey, he thought. I would like to take him home with me. He put on his hat on the ground, and of course, George was curious. Uh-oh. He came down from the tree to look at the large yellow hat. There's George. There's the man. He comes down to look at the yellow hat. The hat had been on the man's head. George thought it would be nice to have it on his own head. So he picked it up and George put it on. George put the hat on his own head. Isn't that silly? The hat covered George's head. He couldn't see. The man picked him up quickly and popped him into a bag. George was caught. Oh, that's not very nice. That's not very nice at all. The man with the big yellow hat put George into a little boat, and a sailor rowed them both across the water to a big ship. George was sad, but he was still a little curious what's going on. There they are, rowing to the bigger boat. On the big ship, things began to happen. The man took off the bag. George sat up on a little stool, and the man said, George, I'm going to take you to a big zoo in the big city. You will like it there. Now run along and play, but don't get into trouble. George promised to be good. But it's easy for little monkeys to forget. So he was talking to the little George. George is so curious. Are you curious? On the deck, he found some seagulls. He wondered how they would fly. He was very curious. Finally, he had to try. It looked easy, but, I don't know. He couldn't fly. He couldn't take off. Oh, what happened? First this, and then this. He fell off the ship and he fell into the water. Oh my, what's going on? Poor George. Where's George? The sailors looked and looked. At last they saw him struggling in the water and almost all tired out. the sailors are looking for George, and poor George, I think they found him, but he's really tired trying to swim in the water. Man overboard, the sailors cried, and they threw him a lifebelt. George caught it and held on. At last, he was safe on board. I bet he doesn't go jumping off the ships anymore. There's the sailors pulling George up, and oh boy, he throws out all the water and in the fish. Yeah, keep those fish in the water. After that, George was more careful. I don't blame him. To be a good monkey until, at last, the long trip was over. George said goodbye to the kind sailors, and he had the man with the yellow hat walk off the ship onto the shore and into the city to the man's house. They're unloading the ship, and they're going to the man's house. After a good meal and a good pipe, yucky, George felt very tired. I don't know. Most people don't smoke now, but once upon a time it was common. He crawled into the bed and fell asleep at once. He was so tired. He crawled into bed and fell asleep. Wonder what kind of bed George had in the jungle. The next morning, the man telephoned the zoo. George watched him. He was fascinated. Then the man went away. Curious George, he was curious. He wanted to telephone too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, what fun! I wonder who he called. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. George had to telephone the fire department. The firemen rushed to the telephone. Hello, hello, they said. But there was no answer. Then they looked for the signal on the big map that showed where the telephone calls had come from. They didn't know it was George. They didn't know it was George. They thought it was a real fire. Oh my, oh my. So they're trying to find out where the phone line come from. Hurry, hurry, hurry. The firemen jumped on the fire engine and to the hook and ladders. Ding, 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 dong. Or is it ding, dong, ding, dong? Everyone out of the way. Hurry, hurry, hurry. The firemen are on the way. Do you see the firemen? They're racing down to find out why Curious George called them. The firemen rushed to the house. They opened the door. No fire. Only a naughty little monkey. I'll catch him, they cried. George tried to run away. He almost did, but he got caught in the telephone wire, and they're going after Curious George. They're just chasing him down. A thin fireman caught one arm, and a fat fireman caught the other. Did you see up here? You fooled the fire department, they said. We'll have to shut you up where you can't do any more harm. They took him away and they shut him in a prison. Just for calling the fire department? That's really bad news. It might have taken them away from somewhere that they were needed. George wanted to get out. He climbed up the window to try the bars. Just then the watchman came in. He got onto the wooden bed to catch George. But he was too big and heavy. Then the bed tipped up and the watchman fell over, and quick as lightning, George ran out through the open door. That's not a very good watchman. He hurried through the building and out onto the roof, and then he was lucky to be a monkey. Out he walked onto the telephone wires, quickly and quietly over the guard's head. George walked away. He was free. There goes George on the highline wires. Those highline wires are nothing to play with. Down in the street, outside the prison wall, stood a balloon man. A little girl bought a balloon for her brother. George watched. He was curious again. He felt he must have a bright red balloon. He reached over and tried to help himself, but there's Curious George up there. He's trying to go for the red balloon. Instead of one balloon, the whole bunch broke loose, and instead the wind whisked them all away, and with them went George, holding tight with both hands. Hey, come back, that's my balloons. Up he sailed, higher and higher. The houses looked like little toy houses, and the people like dolls. George was frightened. He held on very tight to the balloons. Poor George, he's sailing away. At first, the wind blew a great gust. Then it quieted. Finally, it stopped blowing altogether. George was very tired. Down he went, bump on the top of a traffic light. Everyone was surprised. The traffic got all mixed up. George didn't know what to do. And then he heard someone called, George! George, what are you doing? He looked down and saw his friend, the man with the big yellow hat. Man, he's making a mess, isn't he? But he found a perch up on the traffic light. How's he going to get down? Oh boy, how's he going to get down? George was very happy. The man was happy too. George slid down the post, and the man with the big yellow hat put him under his arm. Then he paid the balloon man for all the balloons. And then George and the man climbed into the car, and at last away they went. The zoo! What a nice place! What a nice place for George to live. He was having so much fun, even with the balloons. And that's the end for Curious George. We hope you enjoyed the story. Curious George. All right, that's it for the day. Bye. We love you. Bye. See you next time.